Picture this. You're a retiree in a small town outside of Antigua, Guatemala. You're at your favorite cafe enjoying a margarita. There's some marimba music in the background and the smell of freshly made pupusas in the air. And suddenly you start hearing bullhorns, there's loud crowd noise and everything. A protest just formed. Now, if you're like me, you're former military from a long time ago, and your instincts scream, stand tall. But you're 65, you're unarmed, and TSA took away your little bitty Swiss Army knife. What do you do? That moment at that cafe, with all the noise and commotion happening, our hearts are going to start racing, right? Retirees like you and I, whether we're in a small town or a big city, be it Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, need to stay safe without trying to channel our inner Rambo. And I don't care if you're a first day tourist or a mini-year expat, you're still an outsider in that country, sometimes clueless about their local laws. And unlike the hit and miss that we're seeing in the United States nowadays, some countries enforce their laws very strictly, while others let troublemakers cause all the chaos and then they swoop in to take care of things. That unpredictability makes having a baseline safety mindset a must. I'm Doug, and this is Dying to Retire. Today, we're going to dive into the mindset that every tourist, slow traveler, or expat should be able to quickly shift into when the situation calls for it. And what I'm talking about is avoiding trouble, slipping away calmly, or escaping danger quickly. Now, I've traveled some for the government, and regardless of what you think about government and government employees, some agencies and departments take very seriously travel and travel safety and offer and give us a lot of training. And guys, remember, we're likely carrying an extra 20, 30 pounds, and the only thing we're packing is a pension, not a pistol. So let's break all of this down. Trying to stay safe when you're traveling, you need three basic things, right? First is going to be a little bit of cultural awareness. While protests in countries like Guatemala often stem from indigenous or economic struggles, we don't have to agree with the reason for the protest, but we have to respect the event, the protest. And you and I stick out like a sore thumb because there's going to be some bit, no matter how long you've been living there, a level of gringo vibe that we can never get rid of. Second, language issues. We need to learn, in my case, some basic Spanish words and phrases from no gracias, estoy perdido, donde está el baño, baño, I can't even say it right now, dos cervezas per favor, that's probably even better. Language dunces like myself, we need to download some free apps like the Google Translation Help. But the most important thing is you need to download it before you actually need it. The other way, you never find internet, the whole nine yards. So you need to have it ready for when you do need it. Third, you need to have the right mindset. And while you should carry yourself with a confident comportment, you're not John Wayne, and you're definitely not John Rambo, and we're definitely not John Wick. And that's what we're going to dive in today. For this exercise, later on, we're going to talk about a retired guy named Bob for a boots on the ground story. Yeah, he was in the military, a retired cop, so he should know how to handle himself, right? And like we just mentioned, former military or law enforcement, a lot of us back in the day, we were trained to run to the danger, right? Take your M4, take your M16 for us older folks, your 45 or the new 9 mils for the people, and run towards the danger. However, one of the things about the government training was really good because us with that former mindset, we had to flip the script, right? We had to realize now is more about being safe than trying to do heroics. So both Bob and you and I need to adopt that safety first mindset of avoid, evade, and get off the X and not channel our inner Rambo or inner John Wick. Let's start with avoid, preventing trouble before it hits. Of the three, this one requires the most involvement. Why? Because this requires you to do homework and be aware of your surroundings. As an expat or a traveler or whatever, I know we want to ditch the news and the politics and all of this stuff, but this is where we need to be proactive. This is where we need on our phone to download Waze, Google Maps, because they can help flag roadblocks or protests in Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, wherever. You need to check it days before the day of travel. You can join a Facebook group. I think one's called like Guatemala Expats and stuff. You can read from my case, if it's Guatemala, Prensa Libre, it's a newspaper, a local paper, Google Translate, of course. Or you should also check the State Department's website for travel warnings. Now, the other recommendations always stick to daytime travel and touring as much as possible. Always have a backup to where you're going, right? If a protest blocks your path, do you really need to go out that day, or can you go to another spot at that time? It doesn't matter what the protest is about. What matters is you need to stay away from it. Next, let's talk about evade, slipping away when trouble's near. And this is I'm talking about when you're happily making way to your destination and oh shit, you see something ahead that doesn't look good. You got to think fast. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I go back? Is there a safe option, or do I need to just go home? Regardless of whether you're on foot or in a car, this is when you're going to have to make a quick decision to redirect to take another route. But at the end of the day, if evading gets too tough, prioritize your safety over getting good pupusas and go home. And finally, let's talk about getting off the X, escaping a danger zone. Be it a protest, a bad car accident, whatever, it doesn't matter. It is the proverbial, oh shit, there I was story. You can't stay where you are. Nothing good comes from sitting on the X, right? Now, this is a straight up simple part. You have to move. I don't care if on foot or in car, you need to move. If you can't get back to your hotel or home, go to a hard point like a police station or a church. While some will say throw money on the ground, then just run off, that's all relative and it depends on the situation. However, like I said, it is you getting off the X. And getting off the X does not have to look pretty. No one's going to hold up an Olympic score and go, oh, he's got a perfect 10. Nope, doesn't happen. Get off the X. Let's go back to the story of Bob for a good old boots on the ground story, right? Like I said, former military, retired policeman. He's living as an expat in Guatemala. And here's a week in his life using avoid, evade, and get off the X mindset. Monday comes around. Bob plans to go to the market for some groceries, but he looked at the Guatemalan expat on Facebook and it said, hey, upcoming protest by indigenous group X, Y, or Z. They're going to be on this road going to where the market is. Now, his old instincts, like you and I, that little voice in the back of our head that says, here, hold our beer, the one that gets us in trouble a lot, often will arise for this situation. Bob was smarter than that. He looked on the ways and said, I can't get to that restaurant, or excuse me, the market I want to go to. Why don't I just go get the pupusas at this quiet cafe and I'll do it another day? He avoided the scenario. He avoided the danger. Wednesday comes along. Bob's starving because he didn't take any leftovers when he ate the pupusas at the restaurant, right? So he starts driving on his way to the market, and oh shit, something happens because he sees it down the road when it gets at the intersection. So he's going to have to make the determination. Does he continue going on his route? Not a good choice. Or does he redirect and use another route to take him to get him to the market, and it takes him around the protest or roadblocks or whatever it is? The most important thing to remember on this one too is when he comes home, he needs to take that long way around to evade, go around where the protest or where the oh shit moment is occurring. Friday rolls around, right? Bob's just driving around in town being a tourist, right? And suddenly, all around him, all hell breaks loose, right? Could be a car accident, could be a immediate roadblock, could be an impromptu protest, right? But he keeps his wits about him. and he realizes he's got to get to a safe hard point, be it the hotel, the police station, or church. Well, in this scenario, Bob can drive to it real quickly, but it may come to a part where he has to ditch the car, get out, and go on foot to get to these locations. And if he's carrying anything, he may have to ditch that because it may slow him down. But Bob realized he had to get off the X, and he did, and he was able to live to tell the tale. Now, since you guys have been really good, I want to give you 4 additional tips, right? One, you need to blend in as best as possible. Skip the loud gringo clothing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. 2, practice Spanish or whatever language where you're going to be at. Learn some basic words and phrases. 3, stay charged. And what I mean by that is a $10, $20 charge bank, power bank, can keep your phone going for 1 to 2 extra charges. You don't want to be out there when your phone isn't working because you lose your Google Maps, you lose your Waze, and you lose your communication device. 4, network. Now, you can be an active networker or a lurker. And what I mean by that, and what I mean by networks, there's Facebook groups, Signal chat groups, there's WhatsApp chat groups, there's the State Department stuff. You can stay on there if you want to network where you can see what's going on in the area. Don't worry about the politics issue. Just find out what's going on, things that you know you need to stay away with. Habits like these small habits often result in big wins. Now, in addition to these tips, I want to talk about a couple common pitfalls. It's actually 5. 1, we have a tendency to ignore our gut. Trust your gut. It usually identifies something that's off before your brain catches up and can actually define what it is. 2, and we touched about it briefly, standing out. If you're being loud, bringing attention into yourself, wearing loud clothing and all this stuff, it draws attention, unwanted attention on you. So don't be the tactical Barbie or tactical Ken, please. 3, freezing. Hesitation invites harm. Even if you only can do it mentally, you need to rehearse the move now mentality. 4, having no plan B. We have a tendency to not have backup plans. If the cafe is too full or busy, where else can you go to get dinner, right? If the market's blocked off, is there another market you can go to, right? We often are overly focused and have like tunnel vision. If you remember the movie Rain Man, he had to go home to see Wapner at 4 o'clock. He had that tunnel vision. Don't do that. 5, expecting embassy rescue. And I have to laugh at this one because many people think in the middle of an oh shit moment, I'm going to call the embassy and they're going to send some help. Well, there's no quick reaction force coming to you. And good Lord, you're not even going to get Paw Patrol, okay? The Marine Guards are for the embassy, not you. This is when you have to practice your avoid, evade, and get off the X. If you're really upset about everything, you can call the embassy later where you can channel your inner Karen. Now, let me share a personal story here. I'm somewhat of a seasoned traveler. I know others who've done it more than I have, right? My first trip down to Guatemala with a wife was very eye-opening, right? Her family here, and especially her family there, were worried sick about my safety. They were worried about me, the gringo, right? Not knowing my background. So they were like, you can't take your phone, hide your watch, hide your ring, all this other stuff. Stay inside unless you're with us. Well, what's funny or funnier, or however you want to look at it, my wife's niece and her husband, about a month before we went down as well, and they gave him the same story, and he was scared to basically leave the house. When it came to me, I'm like looking at him, I'm like, okay, are they going to try to blow me up? No. Are they planning to shoot me? No. Okay, I've been there, done that, so I think I will be fine, and I was. And what I mean by that, every day, except for the first day, I would go down around the corner and buy the local paper. The first day, her elderly uncle showed me where to go, and this is how much it cost. So after that, I did it all by myself. We were at one of the local markets, a block or two from the house, buying more beans and eggs and tortillas, right? Of course. And a guy, probably a homeless person, came at me hard asking for money. I said no in a polite but authoritative manner, and when he kept asking, I escalated a little bit until the point he left, right? He backed off. Her family was a little shocked. They're like, oh my God, he stood up for her. We weren't expecting it because they didn't see it from my niece's husband. But then they were relieved that he'll be fine. That you could see it happening in their eyes. And I was. Let's wrap this up. You've learned to avoid protest and things that don't look right. Evade trouble by slipping away calmly and getting off the X as fast as possible to escape observed and potential dangers. This mindset will keep you safe in a small or large town, be it in Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, or anywhere else in the world. No channeling your inner John Rambo or John Wick, please. If you found value in this episode, please hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more of my content. Do me a favor, check out my recent video, Make Retirement Amazing. Don't let the TV and the recliner take away your go-go years. I'm Doug. This is Dying to Retire, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.